Dodger. All right, everybody. Greetings, hello, and welcome to the sixth annual or sixth weekly, whatever it is, CoCo Talk show. And I am greeted by a bevy of beauties here. This is definitely state fair material here. We have Nick Morentis, Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Neil Blanchard, Bruce Moore, Mark Overholzer, Rick Adams, Brett Gordon, Steve Noskowitz, and John Linville. How are we, everybody?
Doing good.
Fine so far.
All right. This is a nice little turnout. And we have 0 people watching us live right now. So that's good. Hello to all of you who are not watching us at the moment. I'm sure they'll be tuning in just shortly. So, yeah, we have a topic, right? And what would that topic be?
CoCoFEST.
CoCoFEST. That's right. For those of us who are there, I'm sure we'll have some things to share, some memories, some fond things. Here comes Bill Noble, eh? Bill Noble's coming in. How's it going, eh?
Hey.
Hey, Bill.
All right. Complete with background noise. What show are we watching there? Days of Our Lives?
No, that's wife.
Days of Our Real Lives.
Days of Your Lives.
Yeah, days of our wives.
There you go.
Days of CoCo. All right. Well, who wants to start off and say something about CoCoFEST?
Not everybody wants.
Not everybody at once.
We're still burned out.
A huge social fest.
A huge social fest.
I have touched the heron.
I've touched the heron. Was that Bruce?
Oh, Lord.
Yes, sir.
Bruce touched the heron. We touched the heron. John's back. Okay,
But
so
did
that
get
what
the
they're
heron's
calling it
permission
these days?
first is the question.
did we get the heron's permission first? It was all the heron contact was consensual.
Oh, good.
For those who weren't able to attend the fest, how many of us here in the call right now watched any of the live stream?
I did.
Okay, Nick in Australia and Bill Noble in Canada. How was the stream? How was the picture quality, the audio quality? Was it okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
it was actually good.
Okay, very good. For myself, I can say I still have, I wouldn't say even the CoCoFEST blues, I still have like a Coco hangover because I'm literally exhausted still. And the time change and the sleep deprivation and just trying to get back to normal life and everything else, I'm still catching up a week later. But I almost feel like a halfway normal person again. But yeah, I enjoyed CoCoFEST. If we had to pick a word, if to use a binary, was it a 0 or a 1? I would say it was a 1. So it was definitely a positive event for me.
Have to agree. I'm still exhausted too from 32 hours of driving back in 2 days.
No crap. Who am I to complain?
Yeah, I did 23 hours driving the first day and then the rest on the second day. So
That
you guys
is
have come
crazy.
far. That's quite a testament to your devotion to this computer.
more insanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
can it be both?
Yeah, exactly. Insanely devoted.
That clip that you did of me, the thing, I posted that up on my Facebook page, and I got one comment from a good friend that just said geek. So I said underline. So I said Sir Geek to you, commenter.
That's Sir Geek.
Yeah.
When it comes to geekdom, you have reached legendary status. So,
Bow and make me laugh, commenter.
hey, oh, Steve, I have something I want to show you. Hold on one second. Where is it? All right. The TDP 100 I got from you. Remember I said I couldn't get it to work?
Oh wow.
I opened it up today, and
Okay.
I found this ROM chip in here. It says Scan Demo EX70. Does that look familiar to you at all?
Not mine. It must have been one of the ones I got from. One of the ones I got from work. So have no idea what that is.
Okay. It's very interesting because it's a ROM that's piggybacked on a thing that's piggybacked on a thing that fit in the wrong socket. So,
Although maybe that is mine. Son of a gun. That could be something. Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
okay,
Whatever.
it says Scan
Some
Demo.
top secret,
Do a
Yeah.
top secret code in there.
do
So
a ROM dump. Send me a ROM dump. Maybe I can figure out if it's mine. It might be mine.
I have no idea how to do that, but I'll mail it to you if you want it. I mean, I pulled it out of the TDP, and that was what was preventing it from booting. So I pulled that out today, and that thing fired right up. So I'm very happy about that.
Was that in the? That must have been in the extended basic socket.
Yeah, it was in the extended socket.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe it was one of your demo, like laser demos or something, just burnt on the ROM. So as soon as you turned it on, it just started running.
Yes, since it said scan demo, it could have been. But since I have no more anything to show it, why give it to John Linville? He can plug it in and see what it does. What it should do is boot from the extended basic ROM socket and just start showing it with a projector and a D-to-A board plugged in, John. So you could tell what it is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually. Might be cool to do that.
Okay, I'll be happy to send that off to Mr. Linville. So
solve the mystery.
So if we had to pick a single thing, a cherished moment or memory from CoCoFEST, what comes to each of your minds? And I'll save mine for the end.
Well, I would say finding that bug, if you remember that. That was probably a good point.
That was great. That was definitely a fun thing to watch.
The talk was fun.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I was going to mention the keynote. That was my favorite.
I think the problem with mentioning a favorite is then you are almost saying that nothing else compared, and it's just not fair. It's like trying to pick a favorite child, you know. Although on some days it's an easier decision than others, but. There were so many good things. Yeah, the keynote was great. When we talk about the CoCoFEST blues, it is the lack of the human connection probably is what we're missing too. That like what David said earlier, it was a huge social festival. So, what was the single best part about CoCoFEST? The fact that there were over 70 people there. I'd have to say that's pretty insane.
Do we have official numbers yet, or?
I got something from John Mark Mobley. He said 72 was the number of registered people.
Okay, because I remember they said that we had 70 on Saturday, and there was definitely some new faces on Sunday, more than 2. So I'm wondering if that's accurate.
Yeah, well, I guess that's as far as people whose names they got on paper. So there might be some that just kind of came in that didn't register or something. Who knows?
So pressure.
It felt full to me. It felt like there was, no matter where you were rubbing elbows and nudging shoulders. There was a lot of people in all the rooms, and there was a lot going on. So, it didn't feel like there was any absence of people. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I do not have the blues, but I do have regrets.
Regrets.
Regrets. Number one is next time I will stay 3 nights, not just 2. Because I had to leave. I believed the schedule. I just looked at the schedule. It says, well, it ends at 3. Okay, great. I'll get a flight that starts at 5. That'll give me 2 hours to get to the airport. So the auction was still going on, and I was sort of had to stand up and drag my luggage off and say, well, bye, guys. And you guys were still going. So next time, one more night. Yeah.
We were kind of prepped for that by listening to the podcast too. They did suggest if you could stay Sunday, to do that. Yep.
Next time. And then my other big regret is I didn't get to talk to Boise Pete more, because we go way back, back to Delphi and the Delphi days. And I've known him as Boise on Delphi forever. So, I basically got to shake his hand when we first came in, and shake his hand on the way out, and that was pretty much our interaction. So I think I'd like a little bit more next time.
Where's Grant? Is Grant? Are you in the call? Did we lose Grant? Because Grant is chatting right now, but I don't see Grant in the call. Grant, what happened to you? Okay, the keynote with Rick. Okay, so Rick says the keynote with Rick and the rainbow data mining. Rich, I totally agree with you. I will drive up on Thursday and leave on Monday. Okay. That was Grant. So Grant, we lost you in a Skype call. Come back if you can. Just call back in. Yeah, staying Sunday takes a little pressure off of things, I think. And then I guess there has been a dinner And I know last year it was Fuddruckers. This year we had a spontaneous suggestion to go to a German restaurant, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Never been to a German restaurant, so a handful of us went to that, and that was actually really good. I wish Alan was here. I think that was Alan and John. Is it John Robs? Is that his last name?
Yeah.
Had suggested that, and that was really good. So a handful of us went there. John Strong was there. So that was a definitely nice change of pace from a hamburger.
Yeah, and plus we had the one-man band guy there too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that was cool. The auctions were good. I don't know. To me, it seemed like the Saturday auction. It seemed like it drug a little bit. It felt like it was the auction that wouldn't end.
Well, yeah.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of good stuff in it on Saturday. And then some joker thought it'd be funny to put a bag full of used printer cartridges in there.
Oh, is that what that was? Is that
not humor that I share? Let's put it that way.
Okay. Was that was a prank item? I guess.
Apparently so.
Okay.
And you can hear me slamming stuff in the that one. That kind of stormed out.
I was actually concerned during the Saturday auction. I thought we were going to run out of things, but luckily things showed up on Sunday.
Mainly Steve.
Part thanks to Steve with his traveling roadshow of CoCo.
Yeah, how many trucks did you bring? That was my question.
Well, you guys ought to be lucky. My dad used to do lectures for the local ham club many years ago, and not lectures. Brain auctions, and the guys that donate stuff, and if somebody would donate like a bag of parts, he'd say, "Oh, I got a bag of parts here," and he'd fiddle through it, and he'd say what's in the, I got some resistors and okay, what am I offered for this bag? And he'd get him up to 10, 15, 20 bucks. The guy'd come up, put his 20 bucks on the table, he'd dump the contents of the bag out, and he says, okay, here's your bag, now what am I bid for the parts inside the bag?
Frank Patel's here. Hey, Frank. Frank was at the fest. Yeah, Frank said some of us went to Fuddruckers. Yeah, I went to Fuddruckers last year. Was fully planning on going to Fuddruckers, and it was literally like a lobby decision. Last minute lobby decision. Hey, you want to go get German food? I'm like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. What did you guys think about the barbecue? Just as good this year as last year?
Yeah,
it's pretty close. I liked it.
Yeah. Saturday dinner.
Yeah, well, I missed it. Dang it.
It was definitely convenient to not have to, leave the premise to get food. That might be something to consider for future ones too. Is have more catered opportunities. I'm not sure how many people are interested in that, but
oh wait, I was there for that. Okay, never mind.
For the Saturday dinner, the barbecue.
Yeah, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely convenient because everybody can still stay and visit, and you can go to table and say hi to everybody. And
yeah.
I hope I signed everything that people brought.
Oh yeah, I have a few things to show off. So we'll talk about. I'll show off some of my prized possessions. One of them would be the Rick Adams signed Temple of Rom cartridge. So very nice.
I'm told my handwriting is way too neat for a programmer.
Yeah, that was me. It's true.
That was Curtis, yeah. This is good, too. Another cartridge. John Linville put this one together for us. Flood it. I got Evan Wright to sign this one. Nice packaging. Shrink wrap. The whole 9 yards. I did a little video preview on that one. That was pretty cool. Another one, too. Rick was signing stuff, so I brought in my sealed copy of Shanghai. Got that signed. And then definitely one of the crown jewels was I did end up getting one of the source code discs. So I do have one of the Shanghai source code discs also signed by Rick Adams. So that is a treasured thing that I will hold on to forever. So that is pretty cool.
I have one of those too, same thing.
All right.
Ernest got me the data that was on all of those discs.
Yeah.
Those that were auctioned off, and then about 4 or 5 more that I have.
Do you need you need me to pull the data off of this one?
No,
we got them all.
You got them.
We have it.
Okay.
So I've been digging into all of that, and there are some discs that have things on it that I really don't have the wherewithal to figure out what's on it. But I've been digging into the Shanghai ones and figuring out which ones were later ones than other ones, and all the kind of fun stuff that's in there, or the fun comments, and one of the discs has a list of bugs on it. That's kind of fun. One of the bugs that they had was that there was no copy protection. Well, that bug never got fixed on purpose, because I'm not a big copy protection fan. I understand the problem that it's trying to solve, and I agree. I sympathize with that, but I'm not a big copy protection guy. So, and then I got to see all the comments about, yeah, here's a message from my good friend, Don Hutchison, with the hi Don, good to see you again. That message that got the guy that was burning the ROMs, and lots of little comments in there. So it's kind of fun. So I will probably, in some way or form, be releasing that data so that people can dig through that.
That's cool. That's cool. I was just going to show off one more thing. I didn't want to step on you while you were talking, but I also got the Sega Joypad adapter for the CoCo 3, and this was used very heavily to play Popstar Pilot at the table using a Wyco controller. So Popstar Pilot also got to make its American debut at CoCoFEST this year as well, and it was a good turnout for that. We had a lot of people playing Popstar Pilot at the table, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and you actually missed it when I made it to level 5.
I know.
And Nick, are you still on the call here?
Yep.
Did you want to say anything about sales?
Up
to you.
No, I don't. Well, sales overall, that you mean?
Or either or.
Well, Popstar Pilot, thanks to Steve, made a showing at the fest. It's a bit difficult for someone like me all the way on the other side of the globe to actually attend the fest. But Steve took it upon himself to have the packages manufactured in the US, and he had some there at the fest, and I think he sold half a dozen or so.
Bruce is showing it right now.
Yeah, Bruce is showing his off. Yeah, we sold five more copies, and then we gave one to the auction.
That's right. Yeah.
That John got. John got the auction. John got the game and the shirt.
Woo. Right. Yeah. So that was good. I'm very thankful for that. Popstar Pilot to date has sold 80 copies.
Nice.
So it's been a very it's been successful for a computer that's a dead computer, you could say. It's sold quite well. And I think that shows that there is a bit of a market there for anyone who's prepared to sit down and do the work to create a really good game. There is a market. The CoCo community will support you. So yeah, I'm happy with the sales, and I have started another game which I will be announcing in the next week or so. Anyway, so as usual, I will start my development blog for it again, and we'll see how that one goes.
Very
looking
nice.
forward to it.
I saw Jacob in the background there. Hey Jacob, how are you?
Well, we cracked this open as soon as we got it back here. This and the cartridges Jason got, and we've been playing Popstar Pilot. I was also found the bonus video on there. Fascinating. I think that was PenFest, was it? 2000?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. You're right. I saw, Alan Huffman with his long hair and John Strong on there. That was really cool. Really cool to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good show too.
Evan Wright is here. Hey Evan, how are you? Matt Witt is here. Michael Brandt is here. Captain Zap, Frank Patel. We have 14 people watching us live right now. Hello everybody who's watching us live. Yeah, the packaging is great. This is the coolest thing about coming to CoCoFEST. Well, not the coolest, but one of the coolest things is to be able to buy a brand new game cartridge. And this is the second year in a row now that we've had that. Last year we had a number of offerings from John Strong and John Linville, and this year we have another one, the Evan Wright game that John you put this together basically, right, John Linville? The flooded packaging.
Yeah.
It's
Actually, Neil did most of the construction, but yeah.
That's the post you said when you said taking advantage of Canadian labor, right? When he was
Exactly.
assembling. Those migrant workers are good for something, aren't they?
We're cheap with the dollar right now too, so.
So yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, and the CoCo joystick. So yeah, new hardware and new software is always a cool thing. Getting something. Oh man, my TDP 100 that I'm really happy about, which I also got from Steve. Tandy Data Products 100. I can't even mention the low price I obtained this for because I've signed non-disclosure agreements on that. So it was too good to pass up.
And I'm bringing up Skype just to see if I can get it to work here for the call, and I accidentally called him without realizing it. But anyway, he says, "Oh, and by the way, that TDP you sold me doesn't work." Oh, this is a deal, but it doesn't work. Okay, there was my reputation.
I was happy to have it, and it was something I could fit in my suitcase, And so I my whole thing was, even if it didn't work, they're so uncommon to have. It's just going to be cool to have and put on a shelf, But I did my little first hardware project today and tinkered around and got the thing to breathe life. So that was kind of cool too. And one of these days I'll pick your brain offline, John, on what it takes to do that PIA thing you were talking about, because I have no idea what to do with that. We don't need to turn this into a tech segment.
Yeah, well, there'll be some finger burns.
We can't.
So.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the new games. I enjoyed seeing everybody. I enjoyed having Nick Marentes represented there and having people play Popstar Pilot. That was fun to see. Having some T-shirts there was kind of cool too. They've seen a lot of the Coconut T-shirts. Rick Adams wore one.
Alan
Huffman wore one. Brendan Donahue wore one. So there was at least 3 different Coconut T-shirts floating around there. I believe I sold one to Ron Klein too. So it was nice to see some of the Coconut T-shirts out there in the wild.
I'll be ordering the new special version of it when you have it ready.
Yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah, we'll do that.
That is.
We'll get a dated one. And that's
I did want to mention one thing about for any of us, foreigners that came and bought stuff. I actually got held up at customs because I didn't have any receipts for any of the stuff I bought. And they were actually talking about taking it away. And the one guy I was talking to actually knows a bit about the retro computing hobby. And I mean, he's used to seeing like Apple Ones going on eBay for $100,000 or something. So he was, how do I know if this stuff isn't worth a ton of money? You should be paying duty and taxes on it. He was actually going to confiscate it all.
Oh, wow.
And then he finally let me through. But I just wanted to mention to the vendors, if you guys can have receipt books for next year, it would solve that problem. I don't know if anybody else hit that or not, but yeah, it definitely held me up.
Oh, that's good to know.
I was worried. I wondered what, zealous border agent might have to say about the stuff I had on me. So,
well, let me play devil's advocate. Let's say you had that $100,000 Apple One, plywood special, and you bought a 99-cent receipt book from Office Depot and wrote your own receipt. How can you legitimize an actual receipt at this point?
You can't, but they can confiscate the goods.
Okay.
So.
No.
So I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if Neil hit that problem or anybody else did, but
definitely good to know.
And I will put a bit of a disclaimer on it. The crossing that I went through the week of the fest was actually, there was a bit of turmoil there because there was some human trafficking going through, and they arrested a bunch of people in the States and Canada for it. So I think they were on heightened awareness. So maybe in a normal circumstance it wouldn't happen, but just it just makes it easier all the way around. So
yeah, receipts. Cloud9 was doing that, so then you got a little yellow copy of whatever you purchased. So it's good thing to think about.
So I'm not meaning that to be offensive to anybody that wasn't handing them out. I mean, how would you know? But
yeah. Now we know.
I got to dig that receipt printer out and work up my POS application.
I believe
you can find paper for it.
Yeah.
Oh, the receipt printer. You can find paper on Amazon. It's easy.
Okay.
Retro receipts for retro gear. It sounds right.
Yeah.
Frank Patel says the GCC could look into receipts for auction items as well. Shouldn't be too many people affected. And Evan Wright said, I bet there is a border guard with a sweet vintage computer collection.
Yeah, could be. One guy did know about it. I mean, he actually recognized the CoCo too. So
yeah.
He wasn't a CoCo guy, but he said he remembers seeing them.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah. The other thing I liked at the fest that I'll just mention is all the hardware projects like sound cards and everything else that's going on. There seems to be a good resurgence of hardware as well too. So we're getting a nice balance of hardware and software projects coming out.
Yeah, and the one thing I did not get a chance to look at too much, and I don't know, Bruce, if you want to zoom in on your shirt a little bit so we can give you a nice little plug here, product placement. But yeah, the Forest of Doom demo. 2 for 1 here.
Twins.
Stereo.
I didn't get a chance to look at that demo too much, so, oh, look at that. Now, where did that artwork come from that CoCo? Because I like him, too.
That came off the CoCo 3 manual.
Okay.
Just scanned it, and then Jacob actually did the editing to clean it all up.
Okay, he cleaned it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool.
That
Yeah,
was a good job.
I didn't get a chance to demo your game too much, but I'm hoping, Bruce, we can get an interview scheduled with you and Jacob in the near future where we can talk more about the project, because that is a very cool project.
Especially the whole history of it, because it's a very long-term project.
Yeah, yeah. And
Over decades in the making, yeah.
And you know, that to me, that is just as cool as anything else. To see a game in BASIC that's still being developed, to me, is just as exciting as a new soundboard or anything else too. Any project to me is cool. The fact
Jim
that
Gary might
somebody's
have some
doing
competition finally.
Jim Gary, yeah. We could take a small army of developers and still not put a dent in Jim's contribution. So.
I did like the newspaper clippings from back in the day. A local whiz kid gets hired, whatever. That was pretty cool.
That was cool. I took a picture of that. And what was the payment? A subscription to the cassette service? Here you go, kid. Here's a cassette. Here. Now go make another game.
Yeah, I actually got some cash money for one of the things that I wrote, and I bought my Edtasm cartridge with that, and then the rest of it was I think 2 years worth of the cassettes. So.
And what was that? What did that go for? Those are like maybe $60 a year or something like that. So for the subscription.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
so like that. $120 value. Not bad.
And Rainbow,
but whatever it is,
for the adventure and simulation contest, they gave you product too. Like I got a serial to parallel interface for one, and I got a C compiler for another. It wasn't cash either, so.
That's cool. You know, it's not always about the amount of glory you receive, but just the fact that you're even being recognized, I think, is still kind of cool. You know.
Well, except for Rick. I mean, he did now he's famous and signing autographs. So
you know, the awkward moment for me was when they had that bonus, that kind of leftover trophy, and then they're saying, "Well, who do we give this to at the last minute?" You know,
who gets sympathy?
And again, it's like, how do you pick? You know, and again, it's not about glory, and it's not about like, you know, who, everybody does what they can, and nobody's doing anything for glory, I don't think. But I was thinking about that afterwards. I mentioned this to John Linville, but if anybody should have got that, it should have been Mike Rowan, because the amount of commercials that Mike did for the podcast, especially on episode 23, there's, you know, more commercials per square inch than any other podcast in recorded history. And every single one is just so damn good, you know. And it's all about promoting CoCoFEST. So if anybody should have got an award, it should have been him. So next time I see him, I'll pass the baton.
So says the award-winning Stevie Stroh.
Jeopardy winner, eh?
Yeah, well, yeah, Jeopardy was fun. That was fun. That was kind of cool. There were a lot of standout moments there. It was overall kind of fun. There was, hey, Simon Jonason is here. How are you, Simon?
Good, thanks.
The Madman has joined us. So.
The Madman's joined
Hello,
us.
Simon.
Hello.
So, how many of you here in the panel now are going to Tandy Assembly pop quiz? We got one. We got Mark saying maybe.
I can't make it. I'm still in busy season then, so I can't get away from work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm playing.
Try.
It's a long way off.
Okay, Richard Lurbiski says, me. Hey, Richard, how are you? We got somebody in chat right now. me. Yeah. Raise his hand. Richard says, raise his hand. Yes. So, yeah, I'm still on the fence with, do I want to drive to one of these things? Because I got to figure out the logistics of how long does it take to drive and what's the cost of doing that, and then you have to sleep during the trip, because I'm not driving 24 hours. I'm not Curtis Boyle. I'm not going to drive 23 hours straight. So
Why not?
Michael Brandt says hope to go to Tandy Assembly.
But you said you're a Coco nut.
If I had any regrets from CoCoFEST, it's just not able to bid too much on the auctions, because there was a CM8 that went for $40 with a mod, the VGA mod already on it. And it's like, dude, I would love to have that.
But how would you get it home, Steve?
Cheap.
Problem.
That's exactly the problem. It's a good news. I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it prevents me from spending money and buying more crap I don't have room for already. So, but
what were you saying there, John?
That's CM8. I think we let it go too cheap. In retrospect.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a steal. And it was on Sunday. There was a guy sitting across from me that had like a stack of 3 or 4 CoCos under his chair by the time he was done. He was just buying them all up.
All Coco 1s and 2s too.
Yeah. How did do we ever get an update on those Tandy 2000s? Has anybody put an offer on those?
So I'd expressed interest in them without a real figure attached to them, and then Jason Timmons had expressed interest in them, and so since he's local and since it wasn't going to get resolved that day, I just kind of backed away and said, "Well, you guys work it out." So I suspect that Jason Timmons will either he'll end up with them, or I think he said he wanted to give them to Jim Leonard, who was there. And I don't know if you're aware, but that Jim Leonard was the one of the guys who worked on the 80-88 mile per hour demo, which is a PC demo on a CGA video on an 8086 processor. That's pretty impressive. If you're into demo scene stuff, you should go look it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Jason's intent was to give them to Jim because because they have the 8186 processor in them. I think it's the only commercial, at least PC style of device that ever used them. The 8186 is actually pretty popular in embedded systems, but
and printers.
Yeah. But so anyway, I suspect that those guys will end up with them one way or the other.
It was interesting to see those, because that's another thing you don't see very often, No,
it was a pretty expensive machine at the time, so they didn't sell a lot, I don't think.
Yeah, I remember that was what we called the SOS, the store operating system, and the guys would key in the receipts at night at the end of the day, whatever was run through the stores, they punched them all into that computer, and I think there was a modem where it sent it all off to HQ,
Yeah, so I was in college, working at Radio Shack during the summer, I think. Just switched over from that system to whatever succeeded it, and they were trying to sell those, and I was kind of checking my bank account, and I walked in the next day ready to buy it, and they said, "Oh yeah, we sold the Tandy 2000 last night."
Oh man.
Anyway, that was my last.
Was that huge thing?
Oh yeah.
Those things were huge.
And now, did that also have an 8-inch floppy in it too? I don't remember. It was
no. They had
still 5. Okay.
They had quad density 5 1/4 inch, so they actually had 720K 5 1/4 inch floppy drives in them.
Interesting.
They were MS-DOS compatible, not PC-DOS. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they had really good graphics though for the time though.
Yeah, John Robbs is mentioning also the Rainbow Collection that Neil Brookins?
Neil Brookings, yeah.
Neil Brookins got.
Neil Brookings of the CoCo Cat podcast.
The CoCo Cat. So that was a nice collection of Rainbow magazines and binders and everything else there too. That was pretty good.
Binders. Neil didn't even know about the binders until he came here last year, and I have several. I have a bunch of binders, a not quite complete collection, but enough other binders to fill out the collection. He'd never seen them, and so he'd kind of been enamored with them, looking for them, and so then they showed up there, and his eyes were, this big around.
Yeah.
About that. So,
binders full of rainbow, to paraphrase a certain U.S. politician.
Binders full of rainbow.
Right. So I had to goad him into bidding a little extra, but he got him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Matt Witt was saying, I'll never forget the amount of stuff Neil bought from Wally last year and watching him and John try to fit it in John's truck.
Yeah.
Last year, Wally was bidding against himself. Every time he would bid on something, he would bid again, raise it.
Somebody in Skype chat is saying they'd like to give thoughts on the exhibition experience. It's just CoCo3135, so I'm not sure who that is.
Who's saying that right now?
That's Bruce.
The Bruce?
Oh, in the Skype chat itself? I wasn't watching the Skype chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you want to do what now?
Oh, I just want to
Give
share
him the
my
floor.
thoughts of the exhibitor experience. Yeah. Now, of course, the thoughts have gone out of my head now. That, well, oh yeah, I know what it was. It struck me that the exhibits were more certainly not about making money. It felt more like an art exhibit. It seemed more artistic than vendor oriented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I really appreciated all that. It was unfortunate though at a couple of spots where there wasn't much in the way of documentation there, and so if you didn't actually catch the guy at the table, he was off at a talk or something.
Yeah, you had no idea what you were looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of tables. It was like, man, whatever this is, it looks cool, but I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I never found out in a couple of cases, so I was a little disappointed in that. But yeah, it felt like this was an art show. Like, hey, look at this thing I've created, and it's not about one thing being better than another or about money or.
Yeah, look at this beautiful purple circuit board.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
Now, see, that stuff
Well,
is magic to me.
Well, I mean, as a non-vendor, that's probably kind of cool, and I agree that's cool too. But I would imagine somebody who went there possibly hoping to make money, maybe they don't share the same enamorment of the fact that it was an art show thing. Maybe some people wanted to make more money. I don't know, what everybody's other intentions were.
Artists want to make money too.
Yeah.
They want to sell their art, right? But it's
Well,
not
I
just
don't
about the money.
Yeah, I don't think having an art show or whatever keeps anybody else from making money at their table. So I don't know. I like that aspect of it, that it's kind of, look what I did or whatever. That's one thing. A lot of in the lead up, I was getting a lot of questions about. Well, I want a table, but I'm not a vendor. What do I fill out or whatever? And all the forms are called vendor forms or whatever. So I tried to push the notion that they should be called exhibitor forms. I haven't quite convinced anybody inside yet, but hopefully we'll get that straightened out. Or if nothing else, maybe Tandy Assembly will use the term exhibitor instead of vendor.
I think it does on your website.
Yeah. I wonder if
I was never confused by that. I figured that, it's like, well, if I had the money, I'd just buy a table and I could just, sit and talk to people and I could, sign things and, that would be fine. But I just, it's like I didn't have any extra money. So, but I knew that I could do that if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us crossing the border, there's also some awkward questions when they ask you what you're going there and what you're going to be doing there. And if you call yourself a vendor, it kind of lights certain flags. And so, there's a little bit.
I'm surprised it's never been a problem. Because we've always had people coming over from Canada. I don't know. I guess people just manage to wiggle past or whatever,
I usually print out an ad copy of the actual CoCoFEST, and if they ask me what I'm going to, I just hand it to them, and they can just read it. They can go on the website if they really want to check me out, and that usually helps.
Good idea.
Not a bad idea.
That is a good idea.
So as far as the business aspect of it, what the club itself is doing this as kind of a not-for-profit, and they've said, we've heard it on the podcast, we've heard them say it there. It seems like the auction is kind of the meat and potatoes of what has the bank account to have the fest each year, which is, the first time they had it, it was the last one because it was supposed to be the last one. Every year it's the last one now because they say they don't know if there's going to be another one because it all depends on how much money they make at the end. What are you guys' thoughts on how to without commercializing this, what could be done to maybe make it a little bit more profitable for the club and for people who want to be a vendor there? Is that possible? I mean,
Well, I honestly think we could charge more for tables.
Yes.
And probably we could charge more admission as well. Not $50 more, but maybe $10 more or whatever.
Sure.
I think you could probably double the price of the tables and still have just as many people come. The thing is, sometimes I think, in a couple of fests ago or whatever, they were actually running enough of a surplus that they were worried about their not-for-profit status. I kind of suspect that's maybe part of why they ran kind of slow on Saturday. I think they were kind of afraid of making too much money. That's just my conjecture. There's no source on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's it. I mean, we did kind of get the lecture about how we spent too much money on lunch or on dinner and this and that, and this costs more and that costs more and blah blah blah. Another one. So that money from that money to have the next one, right? So. Anyway,
well,
to be honest, the prices have dropped for the exhibitors and stuff since previous years. Like they're actually lower than when I used to go back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, well, the previous venue was a lot more expensive than the current venue. The first couple of times at the current venue, they had the prices really like ridiculously low, but I think they've boosted them up a little bit. But still, this venue is a lot cheaper than the previous venue. I guess nobody wants to get married in a basement.
Right. Evan Wright had a suggestion. He said, I'd pay more for a table, but I'd like to see students get in for free to get younger people hooked on retro computing. Yeah, I had posed that question. I had a few email exchange with a few people at Glenside, and one of the questions I asked, and I think a few people asked too, is that are they doing anything locally to promote this to just the town? Like, I'm sure there's some people in Ohio that might say, hey, what's a vintage computer and what's a vintage computer festival? We're bored. Let's go take a look. You might get some strangers come in and take a look too. I don't know if they're promoting it to quote unquote strangers, or if they're only promoting it to an inner circle. But it seems there might be a handful of people that might come by just out of curiosity locally,
Yeah, I don't promotion there is locally.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, that's part of. I mean, we do have the VCF Midwest guys kind of show up because they did some outreach a few years ago, got those guys involved. But as far as just walk-in drive-bys, what's a retro computer kind of folks, I don't know if there's any of that kind of like appear on a local radio show or something like that. I don't know of anything like that.
If you can get a PSA, that would be an easy way to do it. But yeah, that's a question.
I mean, it's worth. I mean, if you can get an affordable ad in a local paper or even at like a library or something else like that, you put out some flyers and just say, once a year, come out and see what old computers are like and who's still using them and what new things are being made for old machines. I think there might be a small element of curiosity. You might be able to drive a few people in to stop by and see it. Like you say, the whole art show vibe might be interesting to some people too, just to walk in and see a bunch of tables of random technology. Ooh, what is this? So
yeah, you could put up posters in your local Radio Shack. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was Nick Marenta saying that during one of the live streams, is that maybe we could get these auctions to be funded by a company like Radio Shack. Whoops, too late. So get a corporate sponsor, right?
Yeah, you can call it the art of old
Tandy
computers.
Assembly, we'll have to get somebody. We'll have to get somebody local to Chillicothe, Ohio, to find the most popular radio talk show or whatever in the area. If only we know somebody who lived in that area, Brett Gordon.
You could advertise on other Facebook pages for other computers. Put a message on the Commodore group and tell them that there's a Tandy show on. You'll probably get a lot of the people or some of the people from those who might be passing by that day, or may make an effort to come and just have a look and see what's on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, on the real computer side. So
on the real computer.
Yeah. I mean, I last year and this year I didn't go there. I didn't go there to make money. I mostly got a table to have a place to sit down because I'm fat and lazy. But it would be nice to sell a couple of things, like I think it was Evan had said, just to offset some of your costs. I mean, what did it cost me to go there? It cost me about $700 between the airfare, the hotel, and the rental car. So I could not sell enough things to make $700. So I would never expect to even break even. So I didn't go there to get rich or to make money, but we sold a few things and it was cool. It allowed me to buy food and buy a few things and have a few dollars left in my pocket, and it's a vacation. But for some of us coming there, it does cost us money to be there. And you know that going there, right? It's like any other vacation. You're going to spend money on your vacation. You don't go on vacation to make money unless you're going to gamble, I don't know how many people went there with delusions of financial grandeur. But I'm sure there are things. I think the simple solution, and the simple solution that doesn't have an easy answer, but if there was more attendance, if you had more visitors there, that would generate more money. That would ease the pressure of having to auction as many things. If more people were there, that's more potential people to possibly purchase something from one of the vendors. If the price of the tables goes up and the attendance doesn't go up, then next year it's going to cost me even more money. And again, I don't mind if I paid $20 for a table. I don't mind spending $40 for a table, but there should be a balancing act too, to not punish the people who are showing up. And at the end of the day, just like the club's not doing it to make money. Glenside's not trying to make money. It's about the love of the CoCo. That's why we're there. It's not about glory. It's not about profit. But it does cost money to get there. If you can sell a few things to offset your costs, there's no crime in that either. So I would just like to make sure that this continues to be successful every year. People continue to come. There's going to be 28, 29, 30, and so on. I hope everybody enjoys coming and wants to keep coming, and I hope they become bigger and more successful. And I can say for me, the reason why I was there is because I heard about it on the podcast. If it wasn't for the CoCo Crew podcast, I wouldn't have necessarily known about it or really had the driving interest to go there. But when you've got that monthly infomercial, and especially since Mike Rowan started making all these great commercials, I mean, like he's got these, I don't know how many commercials Mike has now. It's got to be dozens of these. And I know they're also available for any other vintage or retro podcast. And I think other podcasts are doing them. So I believe there is a good periphery force of people trying to help promote this event. I think if there would be any disappointment is you would just wish it was a little bigger, a little bit more grander, to see more people there. But I don't regret anybody I saw there. I really enjoyed the whole experience,
Yeah, Steve, I want to. Steve Nasmich, I want to pull out Steve. I got a few comments, but whoever the other speaker is, go ahead first.
Oh, nothing much. I was just going to kind of make a joke. Looking at the backgrounds of the various people, and their videos, I'm thinking that myself and Mark Oberholzer are broadcasting from the same house.
You guys are the mirror image of each other, huh? It's like
you guys are just sitting across the table from each other, right?
Yeah, it's Superman and Bizarro. That's cool. Great observation.
Yeah, I want to wrap up here. I'm going to leave it. I've got an errand to run. But one comment to John. I believe that cable that I gave you here Sunday will allow you not only to put music into the scanners, but as I recall, I put my D to A converters up at the same address that Musica uses, so you can get full 2 channels of 8 sound out of that with my D to A card. I just realized that, and I think that box with the switch probably allows you to go both ways, to put music into the projector and to take the D to A stuff and put it into your audio system. So I think that's what I did. I always was doing weird stuff like that. A couple of comments on some of the things you're talking about, and I think the way to view this is really a form of entertainment for us.
Yes.
In one regard, although I'm kind of backing out of this for other reasons, but it's entertainment. But it is really an art. What I see with you guys, and what I had for many years, was there's just a passion for this machine, strictly for this machine, and to play with the machine. And we all had some other passion that came along with it. You know, when I started playing the games and Zaxxon and things like that, and that was a lot of fun. But then I realized I'm a consumer, and I kind of want to be a producer, and that's what I see with a lot of people here. You know, you've got your VGA card, or you got your Music Man, or whatever, and you want to actually do something. We all seem to have some sort of a creative bone in our head when we're born, and we want to exercise that somehow. And even though the CoCo community is fairly small, and what I'm hearing from a lot of people and what I've experienced in my production career, so to speak, is not so much to get a lot of resounding recognition, but mainly just that somebody appreciates what you've done. And even if it's a small group, it's kind of cool when somebody's, 2 or 3 or 4 people come up and say, hey, what you did is really neat, and I appreciate the work and effort that it took to do that. And it doesn't need a round of applause or an Academy Award, but it's just kind of nice to have that happen. The other thing is, let's see, what did I got here? I'm trying to read my notes. So the art, the recognition, entertainment. I got a note here that's something about selling versus getting an interest in it. And I think maybe if the club, and really you got to ping the club, the guys at the club, and see what they think about how they might get more interest in something like it, and versus selling things. But yeah, if you get a public service announcement on the radio station, that would be pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And maybe it could be called, the art of ancient computers or something like that, and see what people do with old computers. Anyway, just some ideas.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
If there's any other comments, I'll stick around, but I'm going to pull out here pretty quick.
Hey, Steve, it was great to have you here. It was great to meet you in person for the first time. Loved your laser light show. That was very cool to see.
I was impressed. There were at least 3 people, and I think you're one of them, who did not ride the original Color Computer wave, but came in afterwards. And that's kind of weird, although I've also seen people who are like retro music and stuff like that. I was born after World War II, not much, but I always enjoy all that old music and all those old movies. So there is a certain charm. It's sort of a emotional. It's like nostalgia, but you didn't have it to begin with. It's like a nostalgia of a previous life that you look at things of the past. So I was also impressed with the way the social aspect of it. Tony was just unbelievable in some of the things he said to me. Like, he's way over the top being friendly. And it took me a little while to figure that out, that this is a very tight community. And a lot of people are in there mainly for the camaraderie, I think.
Yeah.
You've got the camaraderie of just people, and plus the fact that you're all interested in the same thing, and how important that is. The reason I stopped producing stuff is because there was nobody else interested. I had tried to get some of the kids in the neighborhood interested, and they go, that's neat, but they've got other interests. So, its time has come. I'm moving on. I got rid of all my stuff, and yes, I got back, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I can't produce anything. Even if I want to fix something, I got rid of all the computers and all of them, the multi-card, the interfaces, and my D-Day. I give my last D-Day back to John, over to John. I got to move on. Life has its...
I'll make you a good deal on the TDP 100. How about that?
and I bet it works.
It works good, yeah.
Yeah, I keep thinking, what would happen if in the next year something really serious would happen, such that I all of a sudden really had to get back into this stuff. I'd have to go back there and buy all that stuff back.
You can get a good deal in the auction.
But like I've been telling people, at this late in life to have a midlife crisis is really kind of fascinating, because it means I'm going to live to be 142 years old. I'm just going to have to find another mate.
God bless you. Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, the camaraderie is definitely great. And yes, I didn't go there to make money. I'm not worried about myself making money. I'm not worried about my own personal glory. I just want this festival to continue to be successful. And I think that's one of the things that I'm sure a lot of us are doing is making sure we can do everything we can to get the word out there and get more people to come out. I don't know if I think the numbers are probably similar to last year. I heard that last year was a good year. Last year was a better year than a few previous years. So if we're on par with last year and it was still better than the past and we're maintaining that, that's good. To get 70 or 80 people to come out for a weekend and get together over this is still impressive. That's an impressive number, and the fact that this has been going on 26 years is impressive. It's really cool. Like I say, I just regret missing the first 24 at this point, and I regret never making it to a Rainbow Fest. So this is kind of like a small scale Rainbow Fest, and it's just cool, like you say, that we're still here talking about this and meeting about this. So it's a good thing. Let me just acknowledge a few people who have been putting some stuff out in chat. Okay, so John Robb says that maybe we could hit up Micro Center as a sponsor because we make multiple trips there. Frank Patel says, yeah, we're just trying to break even. Grant Lighty says, one thing I would suggest is to allow online registrations and pay with PayPal for the admission fees. I had suggested that as well. I mean, not only should we be able to pay by PayPal to register, or better yet, pre-register, but if they could do a credit card swipe at the auction, I think that would increase sales and increase the likelihood of sales. It's very easy to get a Square card reader. It's free to get, and you tie it into a bank account.
Hook up your phone or whatever.
Hook it up to your phone. So I would imagine most people have a finite amount of cash they carry in their pockets, but probably have either a credit card with a balance, or like for me, I live off of a debit card. I never carry cash.
Trouble.
Yeah. So I have to take money out of the bank to come to CoCoFest. If I could swipe, I would probably get myself into a lot more trouble. But the club could possibly get a better impulse sale. But somebody says, "Well, I don't have $200 cash, but hell, I'll charge it." And those are very easy things to simplify registration and make it easier for people to pay and make it easy for people to do auctions and stuff. What else is going on in the chat? So Grant Lightly says, yeah, so maybe PayPal. I had suggested that. Frank Patel says, what do you think about the idea of taking donations? And that's another suggestion I'd made too, is that the club should have a PayPal link and put it on their website and let anybody make a donation year long. Richard Lorbiski says, it happened to me. I sold all my CoCo stuff back in the 90s. Evan Wright said something about this can be the hardware project from Jim Brain. CoCo credit card reader. Yeah, so Jim Brain can do a CoCo credit card reader. There you go. Since they like to do everything on the CoCo, why not? So yeah. So, I mean, how do you measure success on something that's 35 years old? To me, if 72 people came out and wanted to celebrate the CoCo 35 years later, that's pretty successful.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pull out of here, guys. Maybe I'll see you next year. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be traveling around the world and all the money I made selling I think I had 9 CoCos.
If anybody made a killing at CoCoFest, it was Steve.
Yeah, I broke even. I'm probably one of the few people
okay.
who broke even.
Lorbiski. Richard, tell me how to pronounce your name, Richard. Stop murdering my name. Get it right. Okay, it's Lorbieski. Lorbieski. Okay. Lorbieski. All right, Richard.
Okay, where the hell's the hang-up button on this thing? I don't see one.
Steve.
It's the red one.
I think you have to shoot it with a laser, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. There's a little red thingy. Yeah. Maybe if there's any questions about technical questions, maybe we can set up a technical interview or something sometime, Steve. And by the way, do you just pronounce your name Steve? It's kind of spelled Stevie.
Steve is fine. Yeah.
Because I used to be known as Stevie in my younger years.
Yeah, that's what my parents called me as a kid. Yeah. If you're a bill collector, it's Mr. Strobridge. So.
Sir Geek. Sir Geek.
Yes.
Okay. Adios, guys.
Take care, Steve.
Later, Steve.
Bye-bye.
So meeting Rick Adams in person was great for me. It was a pleasure meeting you, Rick, and hearing your speech. Yeah. Your speech tore the house down.
I had so much fun.
Yeah. We
That's good to
lost
hear.
we lost
Time
Neil Blanchard a
myself.
long time ago, didn't we? It'd be nice to have Neil chime in on his rainbow collection.
So, do you guys think I had enough icons on my laptop?
Oh yeah.
You could use a few more.
No, there's a few pixels left over somewhere. I think I saw. So
I thought that was the game for a minute, trying to find the right thing on there.
it's one of those sliding puzzle games.
It was a game that I was losing. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so we just had some people tell us the old Hayes modem command to hang up when Steve was asking how to hang up. Is it ATH or plus 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 ATH? So, yeah. Gotta send out that command.
Wasn't that a plus plus plus? Wait 1 or 2 seconds, and
Seconds,
then
then
you get the
ATH.
OK prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 seconds.
yeah.
Or power off on was easy too.
Oh. Yeah, just shut your modem off.
Okay.
I'm
Was
glad
it?
you had a good time there, Rick. It looked like you were having fun. So
What?
I said I'm glad you had a good time there. It looked like you were having fun.
Oh, there's
Oh, yeah.
John.
Absolutely.
I think John Strong is joining us.
Hello, John.
Excellent.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Cocoa
And
Beach.
Rick's holding up his Cocoa Beach.
There we go.
Yeah, I think for me, the CoCoFEST, besides being the social, actually, I guess for me, it was just being able to sit down with everyone and talk about everything. I guess there's no easy way to describe that feeling of talking to people that you chat with either through the email or IRC, and then getting to meet them in person and being able to get that one-on-one, conversations.
Yeah, the camaraderie aspect. That's
Yes,
exactly right. Yeah.
definitely. You know, it's funny when you talk about that. When I was editing one of the music jams from last year, I did a re-edit of that video to just cut it down and get rid of all the dead space between songs. When I'm playing that back, I can hear, because I do everything in my headphones, there are so many conversations going on in that exhibitor area. I could hear William Assel very clearly talking about TCP/IP stacks and this and that and the other. And so when you talk about these conversations, you can hear the conversations over the music. There's just so much talk in there, and it is incredibly just such a wide variety of too. There's like people who are really technical, like you have somebody like William Assel who does his cross development tools and all these things, and there's really brilliant, highly technical people, and then there's other people who are just casual enthusiasts, and there's a wide variety of conversations going on. What's the funniest thing, John? You're on the call, right? So John, what's your wife's name again?
Shirley.
So Shirley's the first person to say, I don't know anything about this computer stuff, right? And then I'm watching people talk to Shirley about just about anything, and she's just so polite. She's just like nodding her head and everything else, and whatever they're talking about, it's just not even in the same vocabulary as her, but she's so nice about it. But there are just so many different people who have so much different depth of vocabularies that they speak. It was kind of cool to just be a fly on the wall and hear all those conversations.
Agreed.
Yeah, she's gotten used to the geek here, so.
So David says he doesn't know how to describe it. Maybe geeking out is one way to describe it, right?
Well, it brings up a real quick story is when I took a job for IT manager up here in Michigan, the first job up here, my wife's family, wasn't understanding what I was doing, and so we just said Chief Geek.
Chief Geek. You wear the hat with the feathers.
The propeller beanie.
We smoke them geek pipe. So
I was amazed to find that there was one thing about BASIC that I knew that Ellen Huffman didn't. I assure you it's the only thing, but that was
and what was that?
Oh, he didn't know that BASIC variables can have embedded spaces in them.
Oh, that's right. I remember somebody talking about that. So like A space B or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was new to me too. I hadn't seen that one.
Interesting.
because I
little
remember
tidbits.
writing a basic program once where I was like computing the y-intercept, and I called the variable y space int. So that's the only possible thing that I could know about basic that Alan Huffman does not know. But at least it was non-zero. And then we got to talk about doing, my LED projects with Raspberry Pi. So that was kind of.
Yeah, speaking of projects, that's what I'm still looking forward to. I forgot to show that in my little show and tell thing too from the auction. I also got the 3D printed CoCo. That is the case that's supposed to hold the Raspberry Pi 3. And I got the image that Ron Klein made. So all I have to do now is order a Raspberry Pi 3, and then I will have a Raspberry Pi CoCo. And a very cool thing that Ron Klein has already figured out is if the Wii U, I think it's called, has these Bluetooth joysticks, and they look very much like an Xbox controller, but they're Bluetooth. You can pair that to the Raspberry Pi, control the whole system. And I asked him, does it read the full values? Because I had a hard time with PC joysticks reading the 0 through 63 axis values. He says they work perfectly. So $20 Bluetooth controller, $35 Raspberry Pi, and boom, you've got a CoCo. And so I am really looking forward to getting one of those and firing it up and trying it out. And having a wireless joystick, I can sit on my big screen TV and play CoCo games in my living room. That's going to be kind of cool,
Seems I'm gonna have to steal my son's. Wii U controllers.
But
I do have the Pi. I do have the big screen, and my son has the Wii U, so I'm gonna have
there
to
you
steal.
go.
Oh, you're set.
You're all set. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually two designs for CoCos up on Thingiverse. Okay, one that you've seen at the show, and there was one that was posted up before then, and they both work. So.
And what is that? What is Thingiverse? Is that a place where you can get these things made, like 3D, like on-demand 3D prints?
I think they have a place you can do that there, but they're a place where you can get people can post designs they want to make freely available.
Yeah, so that was cool. That was kind of a little bidding war. Luckily, there was two of them because I was bidding against Alan Huffman on that one. So those got to be fun. There were some fun moments in the auctions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have some video that I haven't compiled yet, but Bruce took my handheld camera and was kind of a man on the scene there in the midst of the people auctioning and battling back and forth. So I've got some great video from the attendance side of the auction, and I'm going to be splicing all that together as well and uploading that video when I have time to work on that. So we got a few more videos to come. I do have the slides from all of you who give me your slides too, so I also plan on when I have the time to edit those presentations and get some clean slides in there too, because that was really the one challenge I think, was that the webcam could not focus on that screen at all. So anybody watching at home can't see the slides. So I do want to try to enhance that and make those
That's
look
a good
a little
idea,
better.
because you're right. They're really hard to try to read on the stream.
I mean, the short answer is well, you should have been there.
Yeah.
Come next year. But and what I want to try to do, next time too, is have a better setup, better laptop. That laptop can't really handle the horsepower to run two cameras and everything else. So it'd be nice to maybe have one camera on the presenter, another camera on the slide for a nice clean picture of the slide, and maybe another one on the audience, and kind of mix all those together and have a nice, good, picture-in-picture view of the whole scene. I also liked Alan Huffman's 360-degree camera that he had. That was pretty cool. I want to look into one of those too.
I don't even know what that looks like. That just looks amazing to me.
Yeah. He posted a couple samples to Facebook, and you can you can tilt your phone and it'll spin around with your phone as you're doing it, or you can just swipe it with your finger. So that would be great for the auctions instead of trying, because it's really hard to capture the auction. The auction is one of those things where you kind of have to be there. But just imagine a 360-degree camera where somebody's watching it live. They could watch either, Tony holding up whatever it is, or watching all the bidding war going on in the background. That would be really cool to have that. So I will look into one of those too, but I need a better laptop that has the horsepower to handle that too. So.
Well, I was there, and I still want to see Rick's presentation again. That had me in stitches. I just loved it. I want to show my wife the presentation because she will get it.
Who's that? Who's saying that? Is that Bruce?
Bruce. That's Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah. He sent me his slides too. I have the slides. I have them in a folder. I can share with you off of a Google Drive. We have permission to share your slides, right, Rick?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, send me an email or Skype, and I'll link it to the Google Drive. I have them all. Yeah. No, it was a great presentation. It was a great mix of humor and everything else. So
as I was laying all that out, I saw like a single woman in the audience nodding her head and going, yes, I know. Yes, the struggle is real. Yes, I understand.
Yeah, the kerosene heater versus a computer. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, my wife, I was telling her about that. She said, no, wait a minute. What order did he get those in? She was really interested.
The moral of the story, ladies, is never mess with a man in his basement. Good things come from there.
So on my talk, that 30% of the fun are the slides, really.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like a couple of weeks before you have that done, Steve? Or
I will try to work on some of it today, but yeah, hopefully by next weekend. It's just this past week has been just like getting over the kind of re-transitioning back into work and sleep schedules and whole 9 yards. So I've been a little lethargic this week. I'm almost back to normal. So yeah, hopefully by next weekend. I'll do yours first because yours is going to probably be the longest one, and it's got the most variety of content that needs work. So we'll probably work on yours first.
I'm really tempted to do it myself, but it is a lot of work. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll stuff it up on Steve.
Yeah. Well, the good news is the commentary is already there. We've got that recorded. So.
Well, and I would say I didn't do any slides for mine because I was running the stuff live from applications. So. Yeah.
Slides aren't always necessary either. So. They're probably a prerequisite for a keynote, though.
Yeah, I've done presentations with slides before, but this just wasn't. Didn't fit what I was doing there. And it's also a good point you guys give me feedback on my presentation for what I covered that was good. What did I miss that you guys like to hear?
Well, I tell you what I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be ready by Tandy, if not by next Fest, but I'm looking forward to seeing some new games, taking advantage of some of this new sound hardware. I liked John's presentation. The thing I liked about it, well, me being a person who loves games, obviously, but the presentation was more about, okay, here's the tools, here's the products, here's the packaging. How about make some games, And we've already seen, as Nick's mentioned, Nick has sold 80 Pop Stars. I know you guys have all sold, 40 or plus, 40, 50 plus of some of your games. So there's a market for it. There's definitely a market for things on cartridge. We've got a way to put things on cartridge. We've now got sound. All we need now are the games. There's an audience that's there. And I think if I had sold cartridges this year, I probably would have sold a lot more, because that's what people want. People want something they can stick in their CoCo. That's what she said. But so I'm looking forward to more CoCo games. We have Hugo DeFort's working on a very nice one right now. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing Handy Andy when that comes out. Looking forward to seeing whatever else John Linville throws our way when he works on something new. And I'm hoping by next year to have something I can stick on a cartridge too. So whatever piece of crap I can come up with, it'll be crap in plastic. So, and so that's what all the kids are buying these days is the plastic crap. So, but there's a drive out there, it's cool. There's a drive to get people to come to CoCoFEST. There's a drive to get people to make, stuff for the CoCo, and there's people who will buy that stuff, so it's kind of cool.
Well, and some interesting people are coming and joining the Facebook group, and I posted last night on it about a new member, and that's Andre Lamoth, but he's actually written several game programming books for the PC. And designed some retro style development systems around some of the new microcontrollers. I think he's done about 3 of them. I think there's the Hydra on the propeller. There's one for the AVR. There's one for the PIC chips, and they do games on it. But he joined the group last night, and his start was actually with Tandy. And I've seen him already responding and with posts and answering questions to try to help people. And so that's good. I think we're, gaining people back. That's great.
Yeah,
and we get a few more, great new people, old people coming back like Rick. It'd be fabulous.
Rick's not that old.
I mean, not by age.
So back in my day, Shunny. So for those of you who've been around the online community a little bit longer than I have, for me it's been about 2 years. I sense a growth. I sense a strengthening, I think. And I don't know, you guys have a much broader perspective on that. Does it seem like these past 2 years that there's been more activity and more members and more projects happening lately?
Well, I was just made. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think so. I think the podcast has helped draw a lot of people out that might have otherwise been involved on the periphery and just didn't know who to talk to or where to go to talk. And so they know where they can come to the Facebook group or the CoCo mailing list, or somehow make us aware of their project. They'll talk about it. I think that helps bring people out. Like I said, to give people an outlet for recognition or for just for exposure, I think that brings more people out to do more projects. So that's part of been our purpose, along with promoting CoCoFEST. So.
Mm-hmm.
And John, you've been a man on the Facebook group for a while. They just made me one recently, and I've seen a lot of requests coming in. I don't think that's been normal in the past. Is it just increased or just?
Well, it depends on which requests you mean. I mean, the ones that come from, well, I won't make up a name because it'll make me sound racist. But
yeah, there's some
come from stereotypical sources. Yeah. Or the ones that come and the person joined Facebook 2 days ago and they're a member of 175 groups, or or the ones where it's a very attractive 24-year-old woman that wants to suddenly join the CoCo list. And they may not all be fake, but most of them are.
Yeah.
So there's always been some of those. But yeah, I think there's been a fair number of people that have kind of increased over time. It's not overwhelming, but there's plenty of activity, I think. So, I mean, I think that's reassuring to folks, too, that it's not just your weird little hobby that you're oddly attracted to. There actually are other people out there that want to do these things, either with the CoCo or just with old computers in general. And like I said, it's reassuring to folks, and it kind of allows them to forgive themselves for the time they spend working on this stuff. And so, it rolls on top, it snowballs or whatever, so that people get involved and they get some feedback, and it makes them more people want to get involved, or people to get more deeply involved. There's people out there that were at CoCoFEST last year that I know one that was looking at creating a printed magazine for the CoCo community. I haven't seen that, but hopefully we'll see that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that was Lee, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's game projects out there. Who had any idea about Bruce's game? And nobody. Right? But
right.
Well, he's even got T-shirts. It's cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So all looking forward to see that. I'm trying to encourage somebody to put together an AGI game, and so that we can.
That would be cool.
Do King's Quest style games. So that would be cool. I mean, they're out there anyway, but get somebody to do a CoCoFEST game. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be neat, like a new spin on Marty's Nightmare. Just
right.
Something for a CoCoFEST, right? We can call it exhibitor's nightmare. Where's my table? How do I register?
Yeah,
that was last year.
Alan Huffman actually did one years ago. That was a kind of a little adventure game. You moved through different booths and stuff at one of the fests.
Yeah, one of the Atlanta ones, wasn't it?
Yes, and I know I did some conversion for the MM1 for it or something, our machine, and I don't think he ever gave me a final version. So what I worked, it never came out. But yeah, it definitely is a doable idea.
Does anybody know who printed this CoCo case that was available at the auction? Somebody in the live chat is asking about this.
I don't know who printed it. I think Glenn Hewitt designed it. Okay.
Glenn Hewlett, and he was there. He was at the event. Okay, is this available on that Thingiverse you were talking about, John?
Yes, and I'm actually going to download and print one just to see how it prints on my machine at some point in time.
Yeah.
But,
so is that Thingiverse.com?
I think it's Thingiverse or something like that.
Thingiverse. Okay.
Yeah, you do a search, you'll find it. So if you have a 3D printer, there's a few items up there for the CoCo.
It's Thingiverse. Thingiverse. So Thingiv. Okay. Let me put that in the chat too for the people watching on YouTube.
And so I would kind of want to make it known I'm not the only one that designs 3D printed products for the CoCo. Okay, there's some guys making some great designs.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I don't even remember right now. I was going to say something. Must not have been that important. Who else is in the chat right now? Okay, so where can we get the file for? Okay, so here we go. Somebody else was asking, did Rick Adams give a presentation, and where can I find that presentation? Well, just so you guys know, I put a page on my website. My website is called ogsteviestro.com. I'll also put that in the YouTube chat. And I threw together a CoCoFEST page that has links to everything. So let me just put that in chat real quick too. So ogsteviestro.com. Click on CoCoFEST. Yeah, so I put together a page that has a link to the playlist. On my home page, there's a playlist that's got all of my different YouTube videos. There's a playlist for CoCoFEST 26, and it has all of the previous events and live streams. Now, I've got to do a little bit of cleanup on those, and I've got to do some better describing them. So it probably says something like Saturday Part 1. And so basically right now they say Saturday Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and there's descriptions in there saying who spoke at what times. I will get, when my time permits, better at describing each video as far as the title of the video and everything else. And then hopefully a week from now I'll have re-edited videos that include very legible, clean slides that you can read as well. But in the meantime, for those of you who missed Rick Adams' presentation or anybody else's, there was a dozen different presentations. They're all available on my YouTube page that you're watching right now. So just check that out when this is over. You can get all of those. Yeah, I'm not a webmaster, but I'm trying to do simple little things to make it easy for people. Whenever we can spoon feed people CoCo access, I'll be happy to do that. So. And
actually, both chats are going pretty good at the moment.
Oh yeah, I'm not watching the other chat in Skype because then it would make my video windows even smaller. So I'm trying to keep everybody's window fair and balanced here right now. Our next big event now is going to be Tandy Assembly, and we're 6 months away from that, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to try to make that event as well. This is going to definitely hopefully help cure the CoCoFEST blues a little bit. So instead of having that geek out time, that camaraderie time only once a year, now we've got that time twice a year. So I know there's already questions about that, John, and I know it's probably too soon to know too much, but you do have a website out there, which is tandyassembly.com. We have the date, we have the location. As far as who's going to be speaking and everything else, some of that's still to be determined, correct?
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up. I was also chuckling looking at Mark Overhaul.
Oh, his cat? He has a Cheshire cat that just kind of...
yeah, the CoCo cat live.
Materializes. Yeah, I was going to say, so Tandy Assembly now is 6 months away. And
Yep.
we have the website, tandyassembly.com. We know the location, we know the date, we know the time, but a few things are probably still to be determined as far as what the speaker lineup's going to be, what the exhibitor costs are, what the event cost is, things like that, correct?
Right. So, we've kind of done some preliminary stuff, but we haven't got too deeply involved because of, it's basically two teams of people involved that have come together. It's the CoCo Crew podcast and the TRS-80 Trash Talk podcast. And so obviously the CoCo folks were a little distracted with CoCoFEST coming up. We don't want Tandy Assembly to replace CoCoFEST by any means. We totally want a new event. That's our 6 months later in the year event. But we want 2 yearly events, not just one. So
right.
Just to be clear, we are not trying to replace CoCoFEST. We want a separate event. So anyway, yeah, we do have a couple of keynote people lined up. We've got, they're I can't think of it.
I will pull up the website. Hold on one second.
Let's see,
right now, our current speaker, exhibitors schedule. Don French, the TRS-80 story.
Yeah, so we got Don French, who's one of the pioneers of, obviously on the Z80 side of Tandy. The Sunday keynote is supposed to be Scott Adams of the Scott Adams Adventure.
Oh wow!
Adventure International.
Yeah, Adventure International. And so he's not on the website yet, but he is confirmed, is my understanding. So we've got those two. We're a little light on CoCo content. That kind of concerns me, but I'm hoping that we'll at least make up for that with individual exhibitors. But certainly CoCo content is definitely welcome. It's not a Z80 event. It's a Tandy event. It's a CoCo event. But yeah, so things that we're missing, specifics. Well, we just don't have the specifics. It's certainly we have some influence from CoCoFEST. We'd like laid out. We have a number of years of going to CoCoFEST. But I expect there'll be things that come out differently too. So it kind of depends on who shows up and what they want. But we plan to have exhibits and we hope to have speakers and we're hoping to have an auction, although I'm not sure the laws of the state of Ohio are compatible with that. So we have to figure that one out.
Okay.
But it'll be an event. We hope it's similar to CoCoFEST in some ways and different in others.
Sure. Sure.
Well,
it's
John,
more of the get. Sure.
I'm planning on being there, and if you want, I'll commit to a seminar.
Okay, that's good. So like I said, we're gonna have to get some people lined up and see who shows up and what they want to talk about. And I mean that aspect of it being like an art show, I'm definitely hoping for that. So on the Z80 side, we've got Peter Satinsky and Randy Kindig from the Trash Talk podcast. I know Peter in particular has done a lot of cool projects, making the Model 1 and Model 3 do crazy things. And so I'm sure he'll have a good show, a good exhibit lined up, and we're hoping they'll bring in some folks to show some cool stuff. And like I said, we're going to Chillicothe. It's kind of a little bit isolated in some ways. It's not in the middle of nowhere by itself, but it's kind of near there. It's kind of like going somewhere, but it's kind of a lot of nowhere around it. But that's cool. It's just a nice American little town, and there are places to go and eat, and there's plenty of hotels, and there are some local attractions related to Native American stuff. But some of those, I'm not sure if they'll still be open by the time we get to October. But you may want to do some research into that. But anyway, we're hoping there'll be enough people to show up that to make it worthwhile, and that's all that really matters to us. It's kind of like Glenside's got their last CoCoFEST thing. it's just more like, as long as the stage is worthwhile to us, we'll try to keep having it. And it's a matter of how many people show up and how good a time do we have. Finances, I don't think, are a big deal because, it's the room's not that expensive, and we're doing okay on money. So we'll see how that turns out. But we want to see everybody there. When we're also hoping that, being that just that little bit closer to the East Coast, we'll bring in a few folks that just can't make it out to Chicago, but maybe they can make it out to Ohio. Bound to be a few people that could come out from Pittsburgh or, different places up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and come out and see us. That's all.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I sent you an email too. I can't 100% confirm, but if I am able to confirm and you need some time filled, I'd be happy to talk about what I do with the CoCo and YouTube and all that kind of stuff too. If you need time. So I definitely want to try to make it. And I think it's great that we have another fest. I'm hoping that because it's a broader spectrum, a wider appeal, that it's Tandy, it's not just CoCo. There might be a few more interested parties. There might be some people that are not interested in the CoCo at all that just wouldn't come to a CoCoFEST if it was in their backyard, and maybe they'll come to this because now it's more appealing to them because it's more Tandy oriented. We're dealing with a lot of different systems. I'm gonna pull up that website again just real quick. I'm sure everybody's aware of this, but when you look on the homepage of Tandy Assembly, which now has taken my computer here a minute to pull up, there's so many computers that Tandy made. So now it's technical difficulties here, not showing up. Hello, here we go. So when we come down here, look at all these different models of Tandys that we have here. Obviously there's our CoCo, there's the Model 1s, there's the Model 3s, there's the Model 4s, there's the Tandy 1000s, there are pocket computers, there was the Model 100, one of the first portable computers, obviously the original TRS-80 Model 1, there's the Model 2 right there, right, the 8-inch floppy ones. Yep. There's so many different types of Tandys that there's and there's more than one podcast. I know I'm not alone. And again, nothing we're doing is for glory, right? But if I had to guess, and I would have to say that the CoCo Crew podcast was probably responsible for at least a dozen people showing up last year that heard about it through that podcast. So now that we have the CoCo Crew podcast, and hopefully Trash Talkers, and maybe even if Randy mentions this on Floppy Days, and you mentioned too maybe Retro Computing Roundtable, if you have 2 to 3 to 4 podcasts now plugging this event, hopefully that exposure and the interest will be enough to get people out there to where this won't be the first annual last Tandy Assembly.
Right.
So you also need to pencil in on your itinerary is the first annual Tandy Jam, because I'm sure there's a lot of the musicians who want to rock out again. So let's have our first annual Tandy Assembly Jam. Hopefully not the last.
I think we've got the room for the evening Saturday, so somebody might as well use it. But yeah, no, we're hoping to reach out and find a center of Tandy 1000 folks, which we're kind of missing at this point. I know some of the CoCo folks still have a latent animosity towards the Tandy 1000, and hopefully that's subsided by now through the years. But so we're kind of missing that. There's no Tandy 1000 podcast or anything. There's a Yahoo group, and I think they'll have some.
There's a Facebook group too.
And but yeah, there's it's kind of it sort of gets relegated as a PC retro gaming kind of thing. But the Tandy 1000 had its separate audio and video hardware that made it a special case.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there'll be some people that are interested in that. I guess even some PC Junior folk could come out if they're
sure. We'll let them.
But,
they're like the second cousins. We'll let them in.
Yeah, like you said, there's the pocket computers, the Model 100s. There's a few that aren't even on there that were didn't last as long. If you're a PDA person, you could bring your Tandy Zoomer if you want. There's something called the Tandy 10 that has been mentioned on the Trash Talk podcast that I don't really know anything about, but if you've got one, we'd love for you to bring it.
Show us your Tandies.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's like I say, it's a good group of guys. Peter and Randy are good guys, and of course, the CoCo side is me, Neil, and Mike. I like the picture with Mike looking over the shoulder there. That's cool.
Photo
Just
bomb.
for those who care, we are experimenting a bit with a new logo, trying to find one that incorporates Mike. Boise put together one that's sort of a spoof on the Three Amigos.
Okay, that's cool.
But I've kind of poo-pooed that one because it's not very colorful. And so we actually were joking that maybe we should just take a picture of Mike wearing his CoCo Crew T-shirt.
There you go. That's the three of you right there.
It'll be all three of us together. So we'll see about that. But we'll have a new logo before too long.
Yeah.
We'll just figure it out yet.
Hey, John, I was wondering, like, we actually had more of the TRS-80, black and white model at CoCoFEST this year. How was their reaction to being part of the fest this year?
Well, they didn't really show up. Peter was supposed to come, and he had some kind of family emergency. We didn't really see any other new folks that were the Z80 folks or at CoCoFEST this year. I don't know if they just didn't get the word out, or if we, maybe they already heard of Tandy Assembly and just only were planning to come to that. I hope at least they're planning to come to that. But yeah, I think that was part of the misestimate on the dinner at CoCoFEST was they're kind of anticipating a big bump of Z80 folks showing up that didn't realize.
You over there?
So I don't know. We'll hope hopefully see a few more at Tandy Assembly at least, and maybe we'll take some of those back to CoCoFEST next year.
Yeah, because I did see we had some more TRS-80 set up. We had the chess thing that Richard Barrett did, and there was another one that was playing Frogger and some other games too. So there was definitely more of a hardware presence, but I didn't know who from the actual group that came by.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see the Frogger one, so I'm not sure who did that one. Rich Bear, of course, has always been a CoCo person, and he just was trying to do that as an outreach to incorporate the TRS-80, and he ended up donating that to the auction, and I spent more money than a sane person should on that. But,
that's a nice little machine, though.
And the other auctioneer that was alternating with Tony, he's from the TRS-80 group too, isn't he?
Well, he's from the VCF Midwest.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, he's kind of got a more general interest, I think.
He seemed pretty knowledgeable, though, on TRS-80 stuff, for sure.
Yeah, he seems to know some stuff. I don't know really what his background is, but...
he did a really good job. I was impressed.
Yeah, he did very well.
He definitely has a different style.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm sure it was just nice to give Tony a break, That's got to be exhausting. It's exhausting just sitting through it. I can't imagine standing there and holding everything up and looking up the serial numbers of everything.
I was holding him to hold up the Tandy 2000 there and give us a serial number, but I don't think he did.
No.
So.
If I bought any of that stuff, the plane would not take off.
Yeah, right.
Well, you think I don't go to the auction much?
That's
I don't have room for the stuff I'd like to take home.
That's another thing I'd like to see Glenside organize as an actual shipping service.
That would be good. I mean, honestly, that would be great. Because, again, that's if you took credit cards and if you offered to ship it, obviously you got to pay for the shipping. Somebody's going to pack it and ship it. But just think how many more things you could sell. I would have bought that CM8.
My credit card would be maxed out.
Yeah. Matt Witt says, I welcome all your PC Junior jokes. Michael Brandt says, don't forget about the Tandy multimedia PCs, the MM PCs. There's, Michael Brandt just posted a picture. I think somebody else mentioned this too. It's the speaker setup that fits right underneath your monitor. So you've got your little speaker dock and all the little buttons to push and turn things on and off. He just posted a picture of those. Somebody put a comment on the mailing list yesterday about how the mailing list has reached 300 members, and how the Facebook groups reached 1,500 members, and then of course somebody put a snarky comment showing a YouTube video of the lemmings jumping off the cliff. But I don't know if that's another great divide between the list and Facebook, but I mean, I think that's an impressive number on both sides. If you've got 300 or more people on a mailing list, a very monochromatic mailing list, and then you've got 1,500 people on Facebook where you have, like color, sound, photographs, all these newfangled things the kids are doing these days. It's pretty impressive that there's 1,500 people in that group, even if they're not all active, that you have that many people there. And then you get, close to 100 of those people to come out once a year. It's still a good testament to the passion of the community,
Mm-hmm.
Does Glenside participate in the Vintage Computer conference coming up here, I think in September?
That's VC. They had a contingent last year. I assume they will again.
Yeah, I think John Mark Mobley had a display, and I seen Tony, Rich, and I don't know who else that was there too at some point.
So I mean, VCF Midwest is what led us to the Heron Point location, and if we change locations, we'll probably go to the same place that VCF Midwest has been the past couple of years, and probably will be this year. So there is an association between the two groups, at least informally, to each other. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's no shortage of events. When you listen to the news and the events on the podcast, it seems like there's events year round. I wish I had the time and the money to visit them all. I'd love to go on tour. I'd love to be a traveling geek and just go to every one of these freaking nerd fests. It's just there's so many of them. The Southern Fried Gaming Expo sounds like one that'd be kind of cool. It's like up my alley and it's closer to me. I want to definitely try to make one of those one of these years. The one that you guys just went to in New Jersey, that's a little bit closer and more convenient for me as well. So, there's no shortage of these things. I know that there's a huge difference in price too. Like when we were talking about that, what does it cost to get a table for CoCoFest? It's not a lot, but when some of these other festivals, if you want to get a table, now you're looking at easily a couple $100 or more to get a table. And then it almost becomes like, well, crap, now I got to try to sell something just to pay for the table if it's $200 for the table, I mean, a $40 table, it's a cheap date to be able to sit down for 2 days, or $20, whatever it is right now, so.
I've been kind of thinking about going to this Kansas Fest since I live here in Kansas City, so
yeah.
I've heard some really good things about that fest.
Is that the Apple one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also Commodore is what I heard on the podcast as well.
No, but there's like Atari people that show up. What's the guy that does? Lives in Portland, Oregon.
Kevin Savitz.
Yeah, Kevin Savitz.
Yeah,
but they need a CoCo present at that one.
Yeah, well, I went a couple of years ago. It's a nice event. It's an Apple event, but you spend 5 days in the dorm and talk about it's Apple stuff, but it's pretty cool. They do a fairly technical level of presentation and talk about different things. They've got a game engine that's under development that even has its own custom language that they're developing to do adventure games. And someone else did one that did an in-depth expose on the Apple mouse, the original M0100 Macintosh mouse, with the 9-pin connector and the one button.
Wow.
And he went through and he had like 50 examples of this. And so what's in this one here, you can see that the serial number is MD100 instead of M0100. It's like they missed. This one is a little bit different of the button, and
wow,
it's pretty neat.
Wow.
But, it's a good event if you don't get appled out.
Right.
If you like Apple stuff, it's a good event. If you want to go this year, you better go ahead and sign up because they do have a 100-person limit this year.
Oh, wow.
They have not enforced a limit previously. I don't know if they ever were in danger of going over 100 anyway. But this year they consider themselves in danger of going over 100, and that's their limit, at least for
60 to 70 seems to be the pretty typical years.
That's pretty good though too. 60 to 70 people getting together, because you said it's kind of like a camp, right? You're there for 5 days. That's pretty intense. I don't know. I could take 5 days worth of apple.
Sleep in the dorm. Go and eat in the college cafeteria, and hang out. They do some little field trips to local arcades, or they usually go see some kind of new sci-fi movie release or whatever during the week.
Oh, well.
Hey, if I could just interject something here. There was some chat at the fest about possibly partnering with VCF. And I know there's a number of opinions thrown around about that being maybe good and maybe not. And I don't know wonder what you guys think about that. Either closely integrated, or I don't know if you did it at the same time and just kind of rented space together or something, if that could help somehow.
Well, I'm not sure if there's enough location space where they're doing that to handle the CoCoFEST on top of there. It seemed like, well, there is another set of rooms I didn't get to see that was there, so there might be. But things were going on in those, so we couldn't see the size of them. So there's a possibility there might be enough space. I think that'd be one of the big issues, is space size. Traditionally, the CoCoFEST, Rainbow Fest has been kind of a springish type time frame, and whether you want to change the time frames on them, because somebody would have to move on the time frame, or both probably to do that.
If you only had one room to do speaking in too, that would really bite into the speaking schedules, unless you just made it a 12-hour day talks. Because even with ours, it looked like every now and then there was a little bit of time slippage and leakage where we were trying to bump into one talk and things like that. So unless there were different rooms, you could have different talks in different rooms, and then it seems like it's definitely there are some. I would say there'd be some advantages to economy of scale, having more people going in on one physical building, but I think there's some of the logistical challenge might also be counterproductive too. But
wasn't there talk of a really big room and like using a divider across the middle, or was that something else? Something else. Anybody recall that?
Well, that's what we've got for Tandy Assembly, is a really big room that can be subdivided 3 ways. We're probably going to have a third of it set aside for talks.
I believe that discussion was for if we couldn't get the Lombard location for next year, that they might move it to the other location where the other conference is at. And I think it's in Elk Grove at that Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that's the location that VCF Midwest is at now, and so if we move, that's probably where we're going. But not at the same time.
Okay, not at the same time.
I'm talking about, for those of you who have not been in the group continuously, we kind of joke about the last annual, but really the first few fests that was very, very serious about it is, we simply did not know if this was going to go on. And now it's, almost a given. Yes, there has to be announcement kind of formality to it. But, we did the first one. We didn't know there was going to be any other CoCoFEST. And the second, it's basically the first, 2 or 3 years, we just, it was really up in the air. So it really fit that we were saying last annual, and then now it's just a tradition.
Yeah.
I did last. Hopefully not.
Well, so far it doesn't look like it doesn't seem like it's an endangered species just yet, so that's a good thing.
No, I mean, attendance has gone up the last couple of years compared to the few years previous,
Yeah.
it sounds of it, so.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, maybe we should just hold it in Canada next time. Maybe, near the Saskatchewan,
Yeah, there we go.
the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border around there somewhere.
Yeah, Flin Flon or
I could
something.
probably find a spot.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
And call it Maple Fest.
William won't have to drive 25 hours to get there either. He'll be done in only like 15. So.
Oh.
It'd be about 10 for me.
Yep. Yeah, actually, you'd be closer than you're further east.
So was there anything, I think we've talked about our favorite things. Was there any not favorite thing about the fest? without poo-pooing on any person or anything else, was there anything that you walked away from and said, I don't know? So maybe that's a bad question.
Bruce had mentioned one earlier that struck me, is that there was a lot of hardware and stuff on the table with nothing telling you what it was. We didn't talk to the people, and I'm guilty of that too. When I brought the No-Can 3 board, I was fully intending on printing a little sign explaining it. I just didn't have time, so I just kind of threw it out there. Hopefully somebody knew what it was.
Yeah, and I think Brian Goers, he had a couple of computers on his table with signs saying what they were and how much he wanted. And I think this was Sunday. There was a few people that showed up Sunday morning saying, where is this person? I'm interested in this computer, and I didn't know where he was. I mean, I know Bruce wasn't always at his table either. So the problem is that there's so much going on. It's hard to be in any one place at any given time. You almost need to have like booth babes to attend your thing for you. So
now the expense again.
If Glenside provided booth babes, what a fest it would be, right?
Yeah, well, we were joking about for Tandy Assembly that maybe we would find a local sorority to hire for carrying stuff in and out for setting up and breaking down equipment.
Community service hours.
I thought that would be fun.
You could really play the old card too, saying, "Thank you for helping out us old men."
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know,
but you wouldn't get anything done.
You might probably have to see the doctor about their hearts. Make sure.
Ask your doctor. Tandy Assembly is right for you.
Just make sure we have defibrillators on site. That's all.
Yeah, defibrillator.
And nitro pills.
Be a cool project, right?
If only we had some young starlet from the Disney Channel to be our.
Yeah, we can't afford her. We'd have to jack up our table prices hundreds of dollars.
Hello.
Hello.
So everybody heard my airplane story, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Which airplane story?
Well, the airplane coming in, they assigned a seat for me, and they didn't ask me where I wanted to go, and I didn't tell them, so they put me in the back seat of the airplane, and right in between the couple with the screaming baby and the very loud autistic man.
Okay.
So, well, the couple with the screaming baby were very apologetic, and they said, I'm sorry, I hope our baby isn't going to disturb you. And I said, well, I'm a grandpa, I've seen it all, and the very loud autistic man was actually a very nice guy. So we got out of there the best of friends. But it did remind me of the last time I did a keynote. I was in the rear row of the aircraft. So that was like, how ironic is this?
I was afraid he was going to say that sitting next to the autistic man on the way in just reminded him of being at CoCoFEST.
Wow. Jeez.
Oh, Lord.
I actually had it pretty fortunate on some of the early CoCoFests. I had a lot of help. I had people from the local club volunteering to go up with me and help me man the booths. It made it easy to be able to leave the booth and keep it manned and do a seminar and such. And of course, my brother was the partner in Strongware, and so we did pretty good to that until things slowed down and our club basically had disbanded and so on because it got so small. But so yeah, we have to leave the booth. We just don't have enough people to do it.
Yeah.
And but as a vendor, I'm quite aware of the time that I'm away from the booth for for these things.
Yeah, I wanted to spend a little bit more time. I think I definitely spent more time in the exhibitor area in general. I didn't spend a lot of time in my booth per se either, but it's almost like, number one, I don't want to miss any of these talks, and then number two, I don't want to make anybody feel like, okay, well, why isn't anybody here? I don't want anybody to feel like they're any less important or interesting than anybody else either. So it's like I want to give everybody equal presence too, just of respect to the fact that they're up there speaking too. So it's almost like I would feel guilty for watching one person and not watch another, you know. So it is really challenging to manage the time and where you are and stuff.
And I greatly appreciated the streaming items, and I haven't got to check out the ones I had to miss. Because again, I kind of feel bad missing the seminars, because I know a lot of people did a lot of work.
Well, you just made me think of the one thing that I missed, and it must have happened quick. And I do want to try to defend this person because I didn't see it, but there was a presentation. Was it vintageisthenewOld.com?
Yeah.
And there was a young guy speaking, and I missed the whole thing because I think I went back and I came back, and by the time I got done, it was over, and I felt bad. And I do remember seeing a few people leaving comments saying, I don't know who this person is, but he's not really representing their website well and things like that. Seemed like it was a young guy. He was probably very nervous to be up there too. And again, I didn't hear the presentation, but I just wanted to say that, you know, and I could definitely sympathize if somebody didn't feel comfortable speaking in front of a group of people. So maybe it wasn't even a situation where I don't want to be here. Maybe it seemed that way, but maybe it was like I don't feel comfortable being up here, and it just came across that way. But I did miss that presentation, and I haven't gone back and watched the stream. But I just wanted to say to that person, if you felt really uncomfortable, I'm sorry that he did, because I think we're a pretty friendly group. But I don't remember what that presentation was. Did anybody see that one?
Yeah, that was Kirkwood Reitveld. And like you said, he's a really young guy. I think he just wasn't particularly comfortable. I'm not sure he had a lot of public speaking experience to begin with. So anyway, just be forgiving and thank you that he did speak.
Yeah.
Hey, we all have to have the first time to do public speaking.
Yep. You got his feet wet. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be easier next time, because I remember my first one. It was terrible. Some people say it hasn't improved over the years, but
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, hey, this is Bruce here. I've got a question for you guys. And this is just my first fest, but when I arrived, I was surprised that this stuff was in two different rooms, and a little disoriented, like having to leave. I was gonna end up missing something, and I kind of had imagined it was going to be like this one big long room, and there's going to be someone down at one end speaking, giving presentations, and the rest of us, by the booth, still able to kind of catch on what was going on, or we could zip back to our booth, or somehow catch it all at once. But has that ever been done and like failed spectacularly, or I'm just
it's been.
Come to Tandy Assembly. That's what it'll be like.
and it has been done. I think it's just the layout of this particular location makes it hard to do that way.
It may also be tradition too, because the Rainbow Fest, you had like 6 seminars going on simultaneously, all in separate rooms, because it was huge, and you had 5,000 people in the presentation area, so you couldn't do everything at once. So it might just be kind of a holdback, because Glenside's been involved since day one.
No, it's not that much thinking involved. It's it's the venue. It's just the venue. Having the two rooms. When we had the one big room, and that was more like what you described in the old venue. Somebody would set up a screen in one place, and everybody would talk, and then a lot of people would listen from across the room. But yeah, that's something I don't really care that much for about the venue we've been using, is the two rooms. But it is kind of nice. You can split out the auction and presentations. It can be split out. There's things to be said. It's just sort of playing the cards that we're dealt. I think the first year we were at this venue, they actually had some people set up in both rooms, and there was a lot of complaints about people missing stuff, because you'd be in one room and think you're seeing everything in that room, and then suddenly something else is happening in the other room. So It's just the way it's been split up.
Yeah, that's kind of the venues there. CoCoFEST. We've been in some locations where we've had multiple rooms and multiple seminars going on at the same time. And, 2 or 3 even the CoCoFEST days. Of course, not as big as what there was going on at the Rainbow Fest, but yeah, it's venue-based decision.
And attendance based, like you said, like the bigger the show, you can't do everything at once. You'd never have time for all the seminars. So.
Right.
So I just want to throw out a question here to not only of us who are speaking now, but to those of us who are watching us right now. We have 14 people watching us right now. Some of those 14 might be some of us too. But so far, this weekly thing has worked out pretty well. To have the fact that we have, all of us here speaking now, and there's a dozen or so people watching us. This seems like there's an appetite for this. I was wondering what the momentum is going to be like. Can we continue a weekly momentum? We're just going to have to keep trying and see. I think we can. For those of you who are in the Skype call, I started a shared Google document where we can start putting up topics. I think a great topic just came up that I think Curtis originally suggested, which was, why don't we have a newbie discussion or a non-technical discussion, because maybe some people are intimidated by the highly technical nature of what's being discussed. I honestly don't know, what, the people who are watching, what it is they're looking for. I think probably for the most part, like me, if anybody's talking anything about the CoCo, I want to hear it, even if I don't fully understand it. But I love that idea of the suggestion of the newbie talk, and people who don't know a lot want to ask questions and stuff. So I think we've definitely got at least a few more topics in us, and I'm sure more topics will come up. Whenever I see something now on the mailing list that I think is interesting, I'll add it to the discussion thing too, because there's a bunch of stuff coming on there. And then obviously there's the monthly podcast where we have at least one show a month where we can just wrap up the podcast, So I think we can easily carry this show on at least twice a month. But I'd be curious about the people who are watching right now too. How do you guys feel about this show going on? Are you guys going to still want to watch it every week? And I've also had the idea, and a few people have suggested that maybe we have a talk show that's not about CoCo, that's just more general, that maybe more people will want to watch as well or listen to, So, I'm open to all these different suggestions, but I'm just kind of curious about the people who are here now speaking and the people watching, what you think about the longevity of having this kind of format and what the frequency will end up being and things.
Well, I think, we've got enough people involved and different viewpoints that you have a very good possibility of this doing. I know myself, I can't always catch every one of them. And in fact, like today, I was able to join a little bit, and I joined late, and I actually need to leave because I have some CoCo coding I need to do and you get set up for that. Making some good progress on the music tools. So, but I think we have enough different people that we can keep a variety of things happening here. And that'll keep the interest up to keep from being totally bored, except for me when I'm talking. I might put them to sleep, but the rest of you guys do pretty good. And so I think you have a good possibility. And the weekly, I would hold to that unless it decides, becomes more reasonable to do it every 2 weeks or something. But switching it on days back between Sunday and Saturday might be a good idea too, because not everybody can work it in on the same day.
Right.
And even if I can work it on one day and that maybe the next week I can't. So.
Okay.
Bruce Moore here. Maybe like I was just thinking at the at CoCoFEST, people had various presentations. Maybe we could occasionally have someone present something, take the load off of Steve, and you could do that. Might be a way to generate some content.
Yeah. Like one of them can be an interview with the guy who made the new text adventure game. That's 34 years in the making, and
whenever you say that, I think you're saying nude, and it catches
nude.
me off.
No, that's the other guy. Yeah. This could go on to be like once a week. Somebody talks about one of their projects and do the kind of a show and tell as well. Question and answer on the project.
Yeah, and people can do reviews of projects or reviews of things that they bought at the fest or bought, mail order or whatever. There's a lot of topics. I don't think we'll run out.
And I've actually considered doing a follow up to the tools and such, especially the music tools, since that is kind of a new thing and stuff, and making some progress. But actually wanted to get some things playing, but I sat and wrote code last night, but I haven't, entered it into the computer and stuff yet. Sometimes I just have to walk away from the computer to get a different mindset to handle the issue, because it kind of resets your brain. But
right.
There's definitely some presentations that we can do on some things we'll focus. We've like Alan and I, we did the interview that could go on something like one of these talks, and I'm sure John Linville has some things he might want to be able to show instead of just share by voice. So I think there's a lot of options there that's available. That's why I think it'll work.
Okay.
And just for the record, if anybody's camera shy but still has something they'd like to present by voice, feel free to contact me as well.
For the podcast, the CoCo Crew podcast, the monthly CoCoFEST, now Tandy Assembly infomercials.
and John, just you guys need somebody to talk to, do something. Need to fill some time. Let me know. I'm always willing to help out.
There seems to be no shortage of people willing to fill time for you, John. So,
of course, I don't guarantee that your listening numbers might take a hit. Why did our podcast only get 50 viewers this month? Usually 300 or more.
Yeah, that's impressive that you guys are getting 1,000 downloads every month. On the podcast. That's got to be that's very respectable.
Yeah, it's closer to 1,500 usually,
wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah,
quite impressed with it.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's a great show that's gotten better with time. So that's good. All right, guys. You think we've done a good enough job beating this one for now? The CoCoFEST wrap up. We'll save some stuff for next week.
Indeed.
Okay. Yep. And I want to thank everybody who's been watching right now, and thank everybody who was here, took time out of your weekend. Definitely appreciate it. I like the time slot where we're done before dinner. I don't like soaking into supper time.
You're talking about just after lunch here.
Yeah, don't make me hungry. You won't like me when I'm hungry. So.
Oh,
yeah,
geez,
like it's
don't
only
we know
2 o'clock.
We don't need a hangry video cast right now, right? A bunch of hangry people on here. So Matt Witt says, regarding the various new audio devices available, could we see something retrofitting music on existing titles? That's an interesting thing. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to retrofit without modifying the code. When you have to disassemble it to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yep.
But
it's been done before, not a big deal.
Yeah, like Curtis is like, yeah, but so.
Curtis,
same here.
Curtis and I actually had a conversation on that at the fest one night. So
with Alan too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we were talking to what might be able to be done. In particularly, it might be easier to do on OS 9.
Yeah, it's designed to have drivers that abstract out.
Then you just redirect a driver to a new device.
You add a driver, and then all your sound commands go to the new card. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You'll have to add some extensions to do multi-voice and things, but at least you can get some better sound off the start.
If I can find where they hide that source code.
All right. Yeah,
I thought it was supposed to be on sourceforge.net, but I downloaded what I could do, and I haven't seen it in any of the zip files. So maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, or maybe I have to actually have CVS to actually.
Don't know anything about OS 9.
Those are the serious CoCo listeners, right? What was that discussion?
Yeah.
Interbank incident. They're saying that'd be good to get interbank incident hacked to do some better sound. I don't know if it does sound. It just does speech, right?
I believe so. I haven't played it in a while, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
so
just
Curtis,
does a little speech.
yeah, kind of, if you've got some links or something or some of that source for the sound, point me to so I can look at it.
Yeah, I've
appreciate it.
been too busy with work catch up. I haven't had a chance to even set my CoCo back up yet. So, but I'll get onto that probably later this week. Find that stuff, and then also get some other stuff. Like I have some source kicking around too.
Yeah, so give me a look at it. I've got some cool ideas on how to implement some things for that.
Do either of their current sound chips right now support speech synthesis as well, or is it just music synthesis?
Just music. Well, I wouldn't say just music and sound effects.
Yeah,
it does have a noise channel.
But the ability to rewrite the interbank incident, for example, which is OS 9, to go to a different speech card. It's not the speech sound pack. There are no third-party speech synthesizers out there right now?
No. You know, I haven't seen anything, and I really haven't looked at anything in that direction. And yeah, it would have to be a rewrite because there's not, system calls for the speech, while there is some system calls for sound. Okay.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
Unless they wrote a spatial driver for that, and I haven't.
There was an SS Pack driver, I think, that did support speech.
There was, yeah.
One, yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't very good, but it did work.
Yeah.
What is the deal with the interbank incident? Does that not work on a CoCo 3, or is it just not the artifacts, or is there other compatibility issues with it? Somebody was mentioning that in chat before, saying it'd be nice to have a patched version of interbank incident. I'm not sure if they're talking about just.
Well, I think it
patching the
supports
colors.
RGB monitors already, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually run on a CoCo 3. It just doesn't support all the extra
artifacts.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I haven't tried it in a while, so.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody being here this week. I appreciate everybody who came out to CoCoFest, all our speakers and presenters and exhibitors. I enjoyed it. It was a great weekend. It was great to see everybody. Curtis and I kind of knew each other through Skype, and then we met in person at CoCoFest for the first time last year. David Ladd, I kind of met for the first time at CoCoFest last year, and we've become gaming buddies since then. So we play a lot of PC games and Xbox games together, So that camaraderie, I definitely think exists all year round. It's always better to hang out and with people in person, but I don't think there's ever a lack of sense of community spirit and CoCo spirit, and I'm definitely looking forward to more in-person real-life events where we can get together and geek out in person, because that's always the best part. Really, for me, CoCoFest is about being with Coco nuts, hanging out and listening to everybody geek out on whatever it is they're geeking out on. It's cool stuff. And I can't wait to do it again. So I guess until then, we'll have to wait till at least next week for another Geek Talk and then another podcast. And then all this will be leading up to Tandy Assembly. So I've already updated my thumbnail for this show now. So now it's not just about CoCoFest. It's also about Tandy Assembly. So we'll be plugging Tandy Assembly every week for the next, 6 months times 4? 24 weeks. All right, we got a lot of plugging to do. So we'll do it. I did that math in my head pretty quick there, too. I was really impressed. So
pretty good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
I see you.
Take care, everybody.
CoCo forever.
CoCo forever.